Hello everybody and welcome to our first roundup of the 2023 season. We're so excited for you to join us tonight. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to cover over the next hour or so. But yeah, basically kind of a quick rundown of what we're looking at. We're going to start out kind of just introducing ourselves. Going to give you a quick enrollment waitlist update. We've got some fun drawings that we're going to be doing throughout the presentations. We've got 3 drawings for you. Then we'll move into a quick COVID kind of update information slide, another drawing, and then after that we'll have our main part of our presentation, which is our burning questions that our camp families usually have for us. So just to introduce ourselves, my name is Megan. I am the camp director here at Friendly Pines, and I'll let Adam introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Adam Esposito. I'm the assistant director here at Friendly Pines Camp.
Yeah.
I'll be the tech whiz tonight, and Megan's going to be mostly in front of the camera.
Yeah. So Adam will be taking care of all of that. So first thing, we're going to do a quick enrollment update. So Adam is our main guy for waitlist stuff. So if any of you have gotten in off the waitlist or are on the wait list and waiting to hear back, most likely you have heard from Adam. He is our main person when it comes to waitlist information. So I will let him do a quick enrollment waitlist update.
Perfect. So I'm just gonna pull up this other screen here so I can see. We do actually have some availability in some of our sessions. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I will say that we've got a little bit of availability in session 2. It's a 2-week session, June 25th through July 8th. A little bit of availability in our Explorer B session, July 2nd through 8th. Our Trail Seeker A session, July 9th through 15th. We've got a spot for boys in our SILT session, June 11th through 24th. We've still got some spots in our CIT session, June 25th through July 22nd, and some spots in our CIT Adventure Camp session, May 27th through June 2nd. So that's our enrollment update there.
Awesome. Yeah, so we are going to do our first drawing. So we took all of the names, all the camper names from the Calendly RSVP that people filled out to let us know that they were going to attend virtually. So our first drawing is going to be for an FPC hat. So we've got a couple options. We've got this fun, we call them dad hats. They're very popular. So we've got a fun dad hat. And then we also have these beanies with the FPC logo as well. So when it comes to the drawings, we will do the drawing here right now, and then we will have the winner reach out to us so we can collect your shipping, address and everything like that, and we'll mail the prize directly to you. So if you see your name is drawn, be sure to reach out to us. You can send us an email, or you can even comment in the YouTube, but send us an email to let us know kind of where to send stuff. So for the hat drawing, Adam, let's do the wheel of names.
All right, it's already up there. Clicking to spin right now. Our first winner is Caspian Converde.
Okay, Caspian. So be sure to reach out to us. Let us know if you want the dad hat or if you want the beanie, and we will get that in the mail to you this week. All right. Next topic, we're going to do a really kind of quick COVID info, kind of not really an update, but just kind of a quick slide on kind of our COVID plan for this coming summer. We just released our mitigation plan last week, I think it was. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to kind of look over that and digest all the information. Kind of just want to cover, like I said, just a couple brief things. New for this year, we're going to be operating on a tier system. So right now we are in tier 1, which is kind of like the lowest risk, least danger zone tier. And basically that kind of means really not a lot of restrictions, if any. Tier 2 is going to be, if anybody joined us last year, very similar to kind of how things were last year, where we'd have pre-arrival testing. We would, just be a little bit more conscious of everything. And then tier 3 is kind of like the highest, most extreme if things are really, really bad in the community and everything like that, with transmission and infection and everything like that. So as far as testing, Tier 1, which we're operating on right now, we're not going to have any pre-arrival testing. If we will have COVID tests at camp if we suspect COVID, if campers or staff are symptomatic. We will have tests on site for all of the tiers, but only tier 2 and 3 would require pre-arrival testing, and that would be for everybody, regardless of kind of vaccination status or anything like that. So that is something new for this year. As far as vaccinations, we once again are not requiring any campers to have their vaccine, COVID vaccine. Once we get to kind of tier 3, we will definitely strongly recommend it just as an extra precaution. But we will know, just as before, we will not be requiring campers to have COVID vaccines. And then tuition insurance is available from a third-party company. So we have that information on our website, and that can protect your investment. Not just for COVID, for everything, but especially COVID is covered under that. So if your camper gets COVID before camp, if you have the tuition insurance, that can kind of help alleviate that bummer of missing camp. So be sure to head to our website, friendlypines.com/camp and COVID for more information. And then anybody that's enrolled should have also received our COVID plan for this coming summer. So like I said, don't want to go too into detail. Pretty much everything is in that COVID mitigation plan. But if you do have any questions about COVID, of course, reach out to us. Send us an email. All right. Oh my gosh, it's already time for another drawing. So for this drawing, we've got our fancy Sport Tech shirts. So we've got, they're kind of like athletic-esque, kind of the dry wick, dry fit kind of material. So we've got this fun pink color. We have a dark green, forest green color, and then we've got a lime green. We might have limited sizing in the lime green, but the other ones should be good for the most part, but we'll do our best. So if you win, you can let us know what color you want and then also what size you would prefer, and we'll send that to you. So Adam, take it away for the second drawing.
Here we go. Spinning the wheel. Our second winner for this evening is Ava Whittaky.
All right, Ava, so be sure to reach out to us. Let us know what color shirt you want and then what size you would need. Okay, so as I said before, we're going to move into our burning questions for our camp families. So our, these are like kind of our frequently asked questions. We've been doing this for many, many years, and we can kind of tell and anticipate which questions are going to be asked by parents, especially first-time parents, but even like returning parents and campers and everything like that. So we've kind of broken them down into a bunch of different categories. So like what to bring, what about counselors, your staff and everything, what about med stuff, medications, first aid, what happens if my camper gets sick, that kind of stuff. The food, our menu, if you accommodate any special diets, how we help with campers adjusting to camp, and like bullying and relationships at camp, and then activities, among lots of other questions. So to start off, kind of what to bring. Some of these are common questions that we get. So definitely want to bring a sleeping bag to camp. So everybody will go on an overnight camp out once during their session. So you'll want the sleeping bag at least for that. But you're also welcome to bring sheets if you want to. It's kind of a personal comfort preference. I would say most kids use their sleeping bag. We do cabin cleanup every single day, so they're a lot easier to make, like when they make their bed, than sheets. But if your camper is more comfortable with sheets and a comforter, it's all twin-sized mattresses, so feel free to bring that and then just use the sleeping bag for the overnight. Labeling clothes will be really important. So we do laundry for 2-week campers. You can opt into that. We don't do laundry for 1-week campers, but even still, everybody, regardless of if you're going to do laundry or not, should label everything, because things get misplaced all the time. We do our best to kind of, connect that missing item with the camper before they leave, but and it really helps us if everything's kind of labeled. So that's not just like clothes, but like water bottles, a flashlight, a hat, a backpack, their pillow, all that kind of stuff. Anything that they're bringing should have some kind of marking on it to make sure like it's tied to that camper. Depending on what time of this summer you come, will determine kind of the weather. For the most part, we have really pleasant days. It's nice and warm, and then during the daytime, usually in the 80s, low 90s during the day, and then at night, it can get down as cool as like the 60s and everything like that. So a sweatshirt is totally fine. They don't need to bring like a big parka or, you know, a big, you know, fluffy jacket or anything like that. Later in the summer, kind of after 4th of July, so anybody coming to like session 2, session 3, any of the Explorer weeks or any of the Trail Seeker weeks, excuse me, we will start to see our monsoon season roll in. So definitely want to bring rain gear for those sessions, but really any week of the summer we could get rain, so it doesn't hurt to just bring a poncho or a rain jacket, even if you're coming in May, even if you're coming, you know, for session 1, the silt session, all that kind of thing. As far as kind of gear for activities, we have everything here at camp that you might need. Even for kind of the more specialized activities. So if you have stuff at home, like if you play tennis at home and you want to take tennis at camp, you're welcome to bring your tennis racket. I wouldn't bring anything super expensive or sentimental or like special, because things at camp, like I mentioned before, have a tendency to get lost, you know, get dirty, ruined, that kind of thing. So definitely don't want to bring anything expensive, but if you would like to bring something, you are welcome to. One thing that you will need to bring, and I'll talk about packing list in just a sec, but if you want to do any sort of riding, like horseback riding, you will need long pants. So it can be leggings or jeans. Jeans are a little bit more preferable, but as long as they go all the way down to your ankle, you will need long pants for that. So we won't be able to provide the pants, but we can provide the boots and the helmets for horseback riding. And then same thing goes for swimming and canoeing. So bring a swimsuit, bring closed-toed water shoes, but we have like life jackets and all the canoeing stuff that you could possibly need. So, and then how do I know what to pack? So on this next slide, you get a kind of a preview of the packing guide that we will send out. It's a nice big multi-page document that we have put together, and it pretty much answers every single question you could possibly have about packing. Things to bring, what not to bring, talks about laundry, talks about labeling, like I mentioned, what kind of bag to use, all that kind of stuff. And then on the last page of the packing guide is the actual packing list. So everyone will need to at least print out the last page, and each camper will need a packing list packed at the top of their luggage, and our counselors actually unpack and like tally up to see what was brought and like unpacked, and then at the end of the session they use the packing list to repack everybody so we can see if everything, you know, made it home, kind of a thing. So the packing list we'll be sending that out. I want to say in early April is when we plan on sending out that packing guide. So yeah, so it really answers kind of every question you can have about what to bring to camp. FPC counselors. So where do we get our counselors from? We actually get a lot of former campers that you know, they count down the days until they can finally kind of come back and be a counselor at FPC. Our kind of minimum requirements for our counselors is that they have to be at least 18 years old and they have to at least been out of high school for a year. So like if someone is graduating this coming May, they have to wait till next summer to apply to be a counselor at Friendly Pines. But we get a lot of former campers. We get counselors kind of from all over the world. I have 2 internationals for sure lined up right now that are going to be counselors. And then a lot of just Arizona locals, and then even across the country and everything like that. So we have all of our staff come in. Some staff come in 2 weeks early, but everybody comes in at least 1 week early. And we have an entire week of staff training where it's just the counselors on site. We teach them everything they can possibly need to know about being a counselor at FPC, like how to manage their cabin, how to look out for signs for bullying, you know, how to work with different age groups, all that kind of stuff. We cover pretty much everything and practice it as well, in addition to kind of activity stuff during that week. So we spend a lot of time, and then also have some arrival like videos and stuff that they do for training as well. So we do a lot of training when it comes to our staff. Everybody at camp, not just the counselors, but everybody, even myself, Adam, people that have been here for 20 plus years, everybody gets a background check every single summer. And that includes a check of like the national sex offender like list and everything. And then we also do a drug test upon arrival and then random drug tests throughout the summer as well. All of our cabins have at least one counselor in the cabin. Some of our older cabins will have a co-counselor, so we'll have 2 counselors in that cabin. And then some of our younger cabins, depending on the session, will have what we call CILTs and CITs. These are basically kind of campers and more of like a leadership like position. They're going to be like 15, 16-year-olds, counselors in training. And they will help out with the cabin, but they won't be like in charge of supervision because they are underage, not employees. So for the most part though, most cabins just have one counselor, some have 2, but every single cabin has at least one counselor that lives and sleeps inside the cabin every single night. So it's not like the campers are in one building and then the staff are in another building. Like there's a counselor in every single building. And then kind of just like what we look for in our staff, really, first and foremost, a desire to work with, youth and work with kids and be outside and have a lot of fun. And, it is a tough job, but it's a really fun and rewarding job. And so, that's kind of our main focus is people that want to work with kids. And then additionally, any like activity experience. So like if they, can teach fencing or if they are a lifeguard, that's also stuff that we take into consideration. Alrighty, some medical stuff. So allergies is a common question. Specifically like food allergies and everything like that, but all allergies. So we have a medical staff for every single session, at least 3 med staff that we employ for each session or kind of each week. And those are going to be RNs or kind of higher degree. We have a PA coming in session 2. We have a doctor coming in session 3. It just kind of depends on the session, but everybody's at least an RN. And they are there for kind of all of the like first aid, over the counter stuff. So if your camper has like, they take Zyrtec or something like that occasionally, we have that for like over the counter, like occasional use. If it's something like they need to take a regular medication, which I think is the next question. You will just need a doctor's order for any medication, not just allergy medication, but any medication. You'll need a doctor's orders for our med staff to be able to administer those meds. So we are able to, as long as there is a doctor's orders for those medications. For anybody that's joined us in the last few years, we have added melatonin to our standing orders, so we won't need a prescription for that anymore. But everything else like vitamins, supplements, anything else that's not a standard medication, we will still need a doctor's orders for those kind of supplements and vitamins and everything like that. So if they take like a daily multivitamin, just make sure your doctor can sign off and say like, please give them their daily multivitamin. Otherwise, our med staff won't be able to administer those medications. Our medical forms will be coming out, I want to say it's March 10th. I think it's like a week from Friday. Is our first kind of big paperwork mailing, and that's going to have all of our medical stuff. So it will have 2 really important pieces of med forms and information. So our health history and then our physical exam. So health history is like an online form that the parents fill out for the campers, like you would fill out yourself. And then the physical exam form is a document that you would take to your pediatrician, to a like Walgreens walk-in clinic, wherever, to get a physical exam done, and then the medical professional will fill out that form. So one form is online done by you, and then one form is done like hard copy by the doctor's office, by the clinic, wherever. Just like a regular like sports physical works for those. But all campers will need both of those documents. How will I know if my child is ill or injured? So for every little bump and bruise that kids get, if they go in and see the med staff in the infirmary, we take we log everything, when they came in, what was it for, how did they treat them. But for like the little stuff, they needed a Band-Aid, or they needed an ice pack, or they needed a cough drop or something. that would just become a logistical nightmare to call and like let everybody know, like, hey, just letting you know, little Timmy came in for some ibuprofen. We don't call for stuff like that. If a kid, we suspect they have a concussion or suspect a broken arm or something, like maybe an anaphylactic reaction. Basically, if we have to take them to emergency room or take them into urgent care, maybe we suspect like strep throat or COVID or something like that, or if we have to call like the emergency, like not call 911. In those cases, we would notify, our medical staff would call the parents and let them know kind of what's going on and keep them updated and everything like that. So part of the health history form, that online form that you would fill out, there's also the like release, like the treatment release to let us like seek treatment on behalf of your camper. So that's a really important part of the health history form that everybody will need to fill out before they come. And then I kind of talked about this already, who provides medical care, our med staff. We also have the Groom Creek Fire Department just a couple hundred yards up the road. They're kind of our first responders. So if we call 911, they're usually the first ones, on scene to kind of help us with whatever's going on. So, and then COVID stuff we talked about at the beginning, but definitely take a look at that COVID mitigation plan online and let us know if you have any questions about medical stuff. This next slide is going to be just a little preview of what the physical exam form looks like. So this is, like I said, this is the form that you would take to your pediatrician, to, a CVS Minute Clinic or whatever they're called, to actually fill out, like you need to print it off and have them fill it out and sign it and then return it to us. So that's what that would look like. And then the next slide is kind of what your end for filling out the health history would look like. So that same kind of registration portal you use to enroll or add your camper to the wait list, you would log back into there. You'll need to log in for other stuff, but specifically for the health history. And you can see there's different forms for each camper. If you have multiple campers enrolled, you'll have to fill out the form for every camper that's coming to camp. So once you log in, you have like a dashboard for your registration portal, and then you'll see once it's available on March 10th, you can start filling out that camper health history. All right. Our food. So I know I am a little biased, but we do receive a lot of compliments on our camp food. It's really, really delicious. I know sometimes people are a little wary of, like camp food. It sounds like it might be gross. It's not. Again, I know I'm biased, but from everything I've heard, our camp food is really, really delicious. So we do serve 3 hot meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we also do a snack in the morning, usually like trail mix or goldfish or popcorn or something like that. And then in the afternoon, we do a fruit-based snack, maybe apple slices or orange slices or grapes. If it's really hot, maybe we'll do popsicles for the afternoon snack. But there's plenty of food. So we serve family style. So there's 2 counselors at every table, and then the campers sit on benches along the table. And we have, the food kind of in serving dishes and platters on the table, and then the counselors serve them based on whatever the campers want. So we really try to make meal. We don't want mealtime to become like a fight or an argument or anything like that. So if someone is a picky eater, that's totally fine. If they really don't like vegetables, or if they, really can't stand pasta or whatever the food might be, they do not have to eat it. They can eat the other stuff, the sides, whatever else is on the table, but they just need to remember that this is what is being served for the meal. We don't do like, oh, I don't feel like having lasagna, can I have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? No, you can have the garlic bread that's served with the lasagna and some Caesar salad, but we're not going to make something extra special for you because you don't really feel like eating whatever's offered. And then just remember, if it's dinner, the next meal is not till breakfast. So if you don't eat enough, then you might be kind of hungry in the morning. So our counselors definitely keep track of if kids are not eating as much, or if there's any issues going on at the table, and we will let you know if there's any issues. But for the most, we've never heard of anybody not coming back to Friendly Pines because they they couldn't find enough food that they liked to eat if they were a picky eater. So there's lots of variety, lots of options, but the options are what's on the table. So if anybody has any special dietary needs, maybe they're a vegetarian, maybe gluten-free, dairy-free, there's so many different dietary restrictions nowadays, and for the most part, we're usually able to accommodate them. If someone is like an extreme situation, we would definitely want to speak with you before camp. There is, different options that we can talk about. Like if, we've had kids where there was a kid, I remember once they couldn't have, like they could have 12 foods and that's it. Like it was like, that's all they could eat. And so we had to definitely work out some plans with them. We are completely nut free. So if anybody has any peanut allergies or nut allergies, we don't need to worry about that. But other dietary restrictions, food allergies, all that kind of stuff, you do put that on the health history form, and as long as that's on the form, the kitchen staff are made aware of it, and we have a special kind of window for special diets to go up, and if they're gluten-free and we're having pasta, they can go up and get gluten-free pasta. So we do, or if there's roast beef, they can go up and they're vegetarian or vegan, they can go up and get the plant-based option for that meal. And then I already talked about snacks. This next page, excuse me, kind of examples of what we have a little, we call him Menu Man, and he sits outside our dining lodge, and we post the upcoming meal outside every day for each meal. This is kind of what it would look like. So it's, we list out the main dish, the beverages, snack, well, the next snack after that meal. And so you can kind of see these are actually from our family camp menu, which I'll talk about family camp in a little bit, but a random lunch would very possibly be hamburgers and potato salad and stuff. We usually eat outside and like kind of do grilling and barbecuing and stuff on Wednesdays. That's our cook's day off. So Adam and I are the cooks for the day on Wednesdays, and we'll do pancakes that morning. Other breakfast stuff we might do is like eggs and bacon or something like that. Lunch, like I said, hamburgers, maybe some tacos or something. And then dinner, pizza spaghetti is a really popular kind of pasta casserole thing. Adam says spaghetti pizza. It's pizza spaghetti. You heard it here. Tell all the new kids coming in, it's pizza spaghetti. Yeah, so that's an example for dinner. Or we do like a Thanksgiving dinner with like turkey and green beans and mashed potatoes and stuff. So really, really yummy food, well-rounded. There's always vegetables, there's protein, there's carbs, all that kind of stuff. So and then at lunch and dinner we serve dessert. So every lunch and every dinner we have a dessert. So kind of going back to like not making mealtime a fight. If a kid has 2 rolls and then dessert for lunch, they're welcome to it, but that's not very nourishing, and they'll probably realize that that's not going to sustain them for all the running around that they're going to be doing later in the day. But we don't withhold dessert if they don't like eat their veggies or anything like that. All right, I'm going to get some water really quick. As far as kind of adjusting to camp and friendships, relationships, bullying, all that kind of stuff, a common question we get is like, oh, I want to send my camper to camp, but they won't know anybody. And we want everyone to know that that's actually kind of the norm. Most people come to camp without actually knowing anybody. There are still, excuse me, still plenty of people that come with a friend from school or a cousin or a sibling or something like that. But majority of people don't come to camp, and they make friends at camp. That's kind of the beauty of the activities and being in a cabin, is the opportunity to make new friends. And we even have some kids that, they've been coming to camp for years and years, and they have their school friends and then they have their camp friends, and they kind of don't like it when they mix. Like camp friends are my camp friends and my school friends are my school friends. So don't let that be a deterrent for sending your camper to camp. If you're nervous, like, oh, well, they won't know anybody. Most people don't know anybody. And that is a really great life lesson for them for later down the road, is, trying something new and scary. So if given the choice, we say, come alone. So, but we do allow cabin requests. You can request like up to 2 people, so like a group of 3 can request each other. Beyond that, we do separate groups just because, we only have, anywhere from 4 to 8 campers in a cabin. So if 7 friends want to be together, then that would mean like one person's kind of left out. So we like to avoid that. And so we have this restriction of not more than 3 in a group requesting to be together. Bullying. So part of kind of the pre-arrival paperwork, and then right when they get to camp, we'll talk about the HERO program that we have as kind of like our anti-bullying campaign that we do. It stands for honoring everyone, respecting ourselves, and it's kind of like we talk about, signs of bullying and talking about respecting each other and everything like that, and it's like a contract almost that the campers and the staff sign, saying like they're going to be upstanding camp citizens and everything like that. And then also our staff, like I mentioned before, we spend a lot of time during training, kind of just, teaching them the subtle signs and the obvious signs of bullying and exclusion and, just cattiness, that kind of thing. And they're usually able to kind of, mitigate the situation. But if at any time they need to have a program office member or Adam or myself kind of step in as like an extra authority figure, that's a big reason why we're here. So missing home is definitely a real possibility. Every person that comes to camp, camper and staff, has an adjustment period. I myself have an adjustment period, even though I live here. But for some people, it's 5 minutes. For some people, it's a few hours, and for some people, it's a few days. And whatever their adjustment period is totally normal because it's different for every single person. So, if they're missing home, our counselors will spend some one-on-one time with them and kind of coach them through that. And if they're welcome to write letters home. You, as parents, are welcome to write letters to them as well as emails. We don't do phone calls home. Again, it's just kind of a logistical nightmare, but also, for the most part, like they can really handle things on their own, and it teaches them a lot of perseverance and grit and everything like that, to kind of figure things out on their own. And if we've found that by calling home and like hearing mom's voice or hearing dad's voice kind of erases all of the work that they have done up to that point, and like they're kind of back to square zero. So like we don't allow calling home if they're sad. We will let you know, and we might ask for you to send an email or a letter to like encourage them and make sure and like just give them words of wisdom and kind thoughts and everything like that. But we don't have the campers actually talk to the parents on the phone. What's the best age to start camp? Really, whenever. If you're just now finding out about this at 14, it's a great age. If they're a 5-year-old that's mature for their age, that's also a great age. I'd say most of our campers usually start about 9, but any age is really okay to start. There's not like a better age to start. Basically, the younger they start, and if they like it, the more years they get to come is kind of what the reality is. But even at 14, there are other opportunities like being a SILT and CIT and then being a counselor eventually. So it's not like if you're 14, this is the only summer you can ever be at Friendly Pines. There are other opportunities, but the younger you start, the more camper summers you get. And then when do you kind of send them home? Very rarely do we send campers home for kind of behavior issues, whether that be like bullying, disrupting the cabin, or homesickness. For the bullying, disrupting the cabin, really we will have had conversations with the parents, and come up with strategies and everything like that. At the end of the day, we want the experience for everybody to be good. So if it's just not a good fit, we will send campers home, but we really don't like to do it because we want to give everybody a chance to be at camp and work on changing their behavior and stuff. But it's very, very rare that we would send someone home. Same thing goes for homesickness. It's really as if they are like physically unable to do anything but be homesick or miss home. Again, multiple conversations would have been had before then. And it wouldn't be a surprise in either situation for parents if we made the really difficult decision to send a camper home. So
last resort.
It's definitely a last resort. Activities. So how do campers select their activities? So we create a schedule, an individual schedule for every single camper. Adam sends out a Google form via email. I think it's 10 days.
10 days or 2 weeks?
2 weeks. I didn't know. The 10 days is something else. 14 days before your arrival. So if you are coming on May 27th, you'll get I think it's May 13th is when you would get your activity selection form. So what you'll do is you'll rank all your top activity preferences. So you pick your top 8 and then 4 alternates. And then once you get to camp, our program office, which Adam kind of heads up, will actually create an individual schedule for the camper based on their preferences. Some of our activities do have restrictions. For the most part, it's kind of just age restrictions. So we have some activities that are ages 6 to 9, and then some activities that are 10 and up. But for the most part, all of our activities are kind of all ages, and then we mix all the campers by age and gender and everything like that as well. On our website, which we'll include with the form, we have all of our activities as well as like what restrictions there might be. So something like archery, archery as it's a standalone activity is for ages 10 and up, but we do have a junior archery and BB guns activity for the younger kids. So they still get to do some archery, but it's not with like the bigger adult-sized bows. Most campers are going to be a beginner in their activity, but if maybe they take horseback riding lessons at home, or I mentioned tennis earlier, maybe they take tennis lessons at home, we will have placements for certain activities, and those are going to be for our 2-week campers. They will be able to go on the first day of camp for their 2-week session and try out for a higher level of an activity. If they've never seen a horse in real life before, then they do not need to go to placements. We will just the default is always to put them in the beginner class of if a certain activity has a more advanced level. The default is always beginner, but if they have experience, they can go and talk to the counselor that's in charge of that activity. How do you make sure that they take the activities that you as the parent want them to take? To be blunt, we don't make that a priority at all. We definitely want what the campers like, what their choice is to be what they get. So, some kids need a little assistance with like filling out the form, but for the most part, like the campers should be choosing their activities. We do allow schedule changes within the first couple days of camp. And then once we've made all the schedule changes, then we send out the activity schedules to the families. And sometimes we get, people emailing back like, hey, like I had them signed up for swimming. Like, why aren't they in swimming? And we go and we look, oh, they changed out of it. Well, I want them to be in swimming. Well, they didn't want to be in swimming. We're not going to force them to do the activity. If they want to make that change, they make the change, and we'll respect the camper's wishes. For some activities like riflery, sometimes people have like a philosophical reasoning for not wanting to do a certain activity. In those cases, we would, respect the parents' wishes, but for the most part, we respect the camper's choice and if they make a change. So just keep that in mind when it comes to activities. The preference form should be filled out with the camper, and if they make a change, they make a change. And then I kind of already talked about any special equipment. So parent questions. So one very common question is, how am I supposed to cope with my child being away for 2 weeks? Maybe, the camper is going to be totally fine, and it's the parents that are a little bit more nervous and a little bit like, oh, I don't know if they're ready. And, I can usually tell if it's the camper that's not ready or if it's the parent that's not ready. But just know that I am here, Adam is here. We have a great camp office staff. So our counselors actually fill out what we call morning report, and they fill that out for the first 3 days of the session and then every other day after that. And we kind of say it's like a report card of sorts. They grade every camper in their cabin on different aspects and areas of like adjusting to camp. So like how they're eating, how their medical stuff is going, like if they've been ill or not ill, or taking their meds, how they've been sleeping, how they've been, living and, being in a cabin with other campers and stuff. And then providing some comments and, oh, they had a rough start, but things are improving, or they're really missing home, or they're a great friend to everybody in the cabin and showed everybody how to play a new card game, little comments like that. So like I said, the first 3 days and then every other day after that, we'll have a new report. So you can call camp and one of the office staff will kind of give you the morning report for your camper. And so that's kind of how you can kind of keep, check in and see how they're doing. And then we also post photos on our website. We say every day, but we don't make that a firm promise, because sometimes, if we have a monsoon and the internet goes out, then we won't be able to post photos that day. But as long as the internet is working, we post photos every single day, except if the photographer has like a day off or something like that. So, but those are really, really great for just looking through and seeing like, oh, you can like physically see your camper, having fun on a Western riding trail ride or playing basketball or something like that. So between the photos and the morning reports, that's usually enough to kind of keep nervous parents, give them a little bit more peace of mind. How do wait lists work? So we do have a little bit of availability, kind of right before our first cancellation deadline that's coming up on Wednesday. But every other session, we still have waitlist for like boys and girls spots. And as far as determining kind of the likelihood of getting in off of the waitlist, that's really kind of impossible to tell. It just depends on if people drop out of that session or switch to a different session. Just because you're 39th on the wait list doesn't mean it's like all hope is lost, because what we'll do is if we have a spot open, we'll reach out to everybody Adam will reach out to everybody on the wait list to see if they would like the spot. And sometimes they've already moved to another session. Sometimes they've made other plans for the summer. And so we could go through, 10 people before we get to someone that actually fills that spot. So it doesn't hurt to be on the wait list. You don't have to pay anything. And it gives you a more of a priority enrollment period for next summer if you remain on the wait list. So, but yeah, as far as like letting you know when you get off the wait list, it's not like
unfortunately it's not up to us.
It's not up to us. It's up to the campers moving or removing sessions. Can they call them to make sure I'm okay? So same kind of thing. We don't do phone calls, but you can write them letters. You can write them emails. We print out the emails and we put them in the mail. We do mail every day after fourth period. We do 4 periods in a day of activities. And then after fourth period, we do mail every day except Sunday. So you can send a letter every day. You can send a letter once in the session. We like to encourage, parents to at least write a couple times, just so that sometimes kids, if they haven't heard from their parent in 3 days, they're like, they forgot about me. We don't want that to happen, but it's not required of you to write to your camper if you don't want to. But our counselors kind of keep track if like a certain camper hasn't gotten any mail or anything, and we might reach out to you for that. Family camp is a great option for first-time families. It's a great option for alumni returning families as well, but specifically for first-time families because it lets everybody in the family come and experience camp for a couple of days. So they get to taste the food, they get to try out the activities, they get to see what the cabin is like. So we do those family camp sessions end of July, early August. And it's a lot of people we hear come, if they're going to come to family camp in 2023, they're going to come this summer to enroll for 2024, like a regular camp session, just to kind of test the waters out. So that's a great option. But even if you've been to camp before, never hurts to plug family camp as a really fun kind of getaway for the family. So you can find that information on our website as well. And then we'll be, anybody that joined us last year, we had a Slack workspace. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Slack. It's kind of, I always call it like professional instant messaging, but there's different like channels and like direct message kind of things. So we'll be sending out information in one of our paperwork mailings with how to join the Slack workspace, and you can join like as a parent, and that's where you can like ask questions. Maybe you have a travel question, maybe you have like a medical question. If you want to connect with other first-time families, other returning families, you'll be able to kind of do that all within this kind of Slack workspace as well. And then additionally, we do offer camp tours. So you can sign up for those on our website, and you just sign up online and and it shows when we have available tours. And you can come in. Adam or I will show you around camp, and you can see inside of a cabin, you can see the dining lodge, you can see where the ropes course is, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes it's nice to just kind of come up and see the grounds and just see where everything is, and that usually gives people a little peace of mind as well. All right. Any further questions? I got a couple more things we want to do, but I just want to throw, if you have more questions beyond what we've covered, be sure to comment in the comment section. Do we have some questions already?
Yeah, we've got some questions coming in.
Perfect. Keep them coming if you have any other questions. We'll be answering those in just a little bit. Really quick, I want to do a quick plug for like a call for staff. So we are currently, I'm currently in the midst of hiring all of our counselors and other staff positions for the summer. So if you know anybody that you think, would enjoy working at camp, would be, be a good counselor who you wouldn't mind your kids kind of being supervised by, we definitely are always looking for counselors and staff to work at camp this summer. So a couple of little bits of information specifically for counselors, because that's where most of the bulk of our staff comes from. So counselors can earn $719 a week. So there's a 9-week season, May 21st to July 23rd. And for those 9 weeks, they can earn about $719 a week, which is a pretty good paying job. We have yet to find another summer camp that pays more than we do for our counselors. So if anybody knows any other camps that pay more than we do, then we would like to know about it. And then room and board is also included with that. And it's a really, really fun job. A lot of life skills learned, and working kind of with other peers and working with kids, all that kind of stuff. But we do have boys and girls positions available, different activity department positions available. As I mentioned before, they just have to be at least 18 years old and be at least 1 year out of high school, and then have to be able to work for those minimum 9 weeks. We do have some activities that there is an opportunity to stay for as long as 12 weeks, and then those weeks would be paid, based on if it's a training or if it's just a regular week of camp or whatever. And then we are looking to hire a kitchen manager for this coming summer. So if anybody has any experience running a kitchen or working as a chef or anything like that, we're very interested in chatting with you. And then I think we are still, for the most part, we have filled our medical staff positions, but it never hurts just to have some kind of backup applications on file. And then there's other random general staff positions as well that you can reach out to us if you have a specific need or anything like that. So, but yeah, so if you know anybody that you think could be a good counselor, that would be, send them our way, send them to our website, and spread the word. We're looking for counselors. So, all right. And then we'll do the questions, and then we'll do our last drawing. All right, so.
All right, let me just get this set up so that everyone can see both of us. Awesome. Cool. We're going to answer the questions in the chat first, and we did actually have some people reach out ahead of time to give us some questions to answer tonight.
Yeah.
So our very first question, hello, do you anticipate the need for medical staff? If so, when will we learn of available dates and be able to apply?
Yeah, so we have applications open right now for medical staff. As I just mentioned, basically I've got a couple people that have emailed me, and I'm going to be reaching out to. and if they accept, then we will be filled. So I haven't officially like hired them or talked to them, but I have some, I guess, people in the pipeline. So technically we are filled for medical staff, but as I mentioned before, it never hurts just to have your application on file if, you know, something changes and someone can't come. You know, if you're at all interested, the application doesn't take very long at all. So that's on our website if you're at all interested in joining, being considered for a position on med staff. So.
Sorry, I'm just getting in a better position to speak into the mic. On the website, all the sessions seem to be listed as waitlist. Does that mean that every session is already full and our only option is waitlist?
Yeah, so the website hasn't been updated in a little bit. These availabilities that we mentioned at the beginning are kind of really new. But otherwise, if it says, for the most part, if it says waitlisting, it's waitlisting. But once you go to actually put your camper on the wait list, you'll be able to see if there is actually an available session. So waitlisting or regular enrolling, that all happens in the same place, the Enroll Now button at the top of our website. But yeah, so for the most part, majority of our sessions are waitlisting and are completely full. But there were a couple sessions that Adam mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that we have new availability, with things kind of shifting right before.
Yeah, there's only a handful of sessions that have had availability come to fruition recently.
Yeah.
Mostly due to like us approaching our big non-refundable cancellation deadline.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and this is kind of what we anticipated too. A lot of people, you know, they enroll like right off the bat to kind of get a spot, and then things kind of shift around, or they enroll in another session, but they want to be in a different session. And so then they get into that session and they move out of a session. So, but yeah, if you're at all interested, you know, you can go on to the registration portal and waitlist or potentially enroll. And when we say we have space, it's like 1 or 2 spaces in those sessions. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, we've got like 15 spaces. Like, no, it's like, if someone went and enrolled now, it might have already filled, even since we've given the enrollment update, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Do the campers choose their activities before or once they arrive to camp, or are they assigned to each camper?
Yeah.
We've kind of already answered this.
Yeah.
We do send out an activity form ahead of time so that our campers can choose their activities ahead of time, and then we create an individualized activity schedule for every single camper here at camp.
Yeah.
So every camper at camp is going to have their own individually selected activity schedule.
Yeah. So we'll send out the form 2 weeks ahead of time, but they won't actually get their schedule until they get to camp. And we don't do it in like, oh, you get the form and we're the first family to fill out the form. So that means we're going to get all of our exact, activity, what we wanted. We don't do it like by order of submission. It's all just randomized, how we kind of make the activity schedule. So like definitely fill it out before you come to camp, but you don't have to like rush and like, drop everything and fill out the form right now. Just as long as it's done before camp, that's fine. They won't get their schedule until they get to camp.
Perfect. How do you handle mental health struggles, i.e. anxiety and potential panic attacks?
That's a great question. We spend, that's part of our staff training is kind of, we work through a lot of different like scenarios and like practice, different things. And several of those are going to be, like camper mental health, staff mental health. One of our staff positions that we are, exploring this year is actually having like a well-being specialist. And so someone who has experience, helping kids, manage their, mental health struggles and everything like that. I will be very candid and say, like, I don't have a degree or anything in like psychology or anything like that. It's purely like experience based, just working with hundreds and thousands of different kids over the years that, if they're talking to me, they've got some, issues and struggles that they're going through. But we also, rope in the medical staff, rope in the parents and that kind of thing. We really, the campers for the most part should be like mentally and physically fit enough to come to camp. But sometimes, like I mentioned before, sometimes people have a little bit more of, struggles and adjustment periods and everything like that. But if it's too much, we'll have been in contact with the parents and everything like that. And like I mentioned before, like it's not, if we have to make the difficult decision to send someone home because of mental health struggles, it's a last resort and it's not a surprise either.
Our next question is, what if our kiddo is bullied while there? How is that handled?
Yeah, so mostly the counselors kind of handle that internally within their cabin, whether that's, separating the campers, whether that's, having a cabin discussion, talking individually to the campers involved. It kind of just depends on the situation, what happened. They will include that information on their morning report. If it's a serious or it's repeated behavior, then they would, they would approach, the program office or myself and kind of loop us into the situation. But for the most part, it's usually like kind of a one and done kind of thing. So we spend, time at the beginning of the session talking about the HERO program, and like the cabin comes up with their cabin pact, which is like their list of rules that they're all going to live by. And so the counselors can kind of refer to that and be like, hey, like, we said we were going to be nice to each other, and we weren't going to call each other names, or we weren't going to, exclude people from our groups and stuff like that. Like, why aren't you following, you agreed to the pact, like, why aren't you following the pact? And so kind of refocusing and reminding the campers, like, they agreed that they were going to be a good camp citizen and, manage it that way and just keep an eye on it. Like, usually it kind of works itself out. It's usually like a one and done kind of thing. But if it is ever an extreme situation, that's when I would get involved and we would notify parents in those rare situations.
Our next question is, can you wait list for multiple sessions?
That's a great question. Adam, you want to answer this one?
Yeah, yes, definitely you can. I definitely recommend waitlisting for as many sessions that fit your summer schedule.
Yeah.
If there's a week that works for you, definitely waitlist for it, because you just never know. Even if that session's waitlist might be longer, your spot just might come up sooner.
Yeah.
You just never know how the waitlists are going to move, because it's totally dependent on other people outside of our control.
Yeah. So, and then there's no fee or deposit for the waitlist, so you can sign up for all of the sessions, and you would only need to pay the deposit or the balance or whatever if you enrolled and took an available spot. So if you remain on the wait list the entire time, you never pay anything for just being on the wait list. It's basically taking the time to submit the enrollment application for the wait list and then getting emails from us. I guess if you are cool with getting emails and being on our mailing list is kind of your payment.
Yeah, and then also if you do get in off of a wait list and you're waitlisted for other sessions that you would more prefer, you're welcome to stay on those wait lists as well until your most favorite session comes available.
Yeah, but if you get into your preferred session and you're like, oh, we don't need to be on any other wait list, then we, our preference is to kind of remove you from there, so then we don't have to keep bothering you if space opens up. So, if you get into your main session, that's great. If you don't, you can still remain on the other wait lists as well.
Next question is it better for first timers to start with 1 week? Do first timers do okay with 2 weeks?
Yeah, first timers do great with 2 weeks. First timers do great with 1 week. Returners do great with 2 weeks, and returners do great with 1 week. It really kind of depends on what your schedule is. We always recommend 2 weeks. That's where the first week is where they're still having a lot of fun and they're having a good time and learning the ropes and getting used to camp. But then that second week is kind of when the real magic kind of happens. Everybody knows each other by then, and they know their routine, they know their activities, they've kind of built upon what they've learned in previous activities to progress and become more advanced in those activities. So basically just like the more time they spend, the more they're going to get out of the session. But I do want to say, like, 1 weekers still have a fantastic time and still get a lot out of their 1 week. But the magic of camp really becomes apparent kind of in that second week of the session.
Next one, bedtime and wake up time, hygiene, structure, access to showers, etc.
Yeah.
So I think kind of like daily schedule.
Yeah. So daily schedule. So we wake up every day at 7 a.m. And then in the morning, campers can shower in the morning. They can shower at night too. But we'll go to breakfast. After breakfast, we do like a cabin cleanup period. So we everybody in the cabin like splits up and takes turns doing different chores each day. Our activity periods are mostly an hour long. Some activities are 2 hours long, so they do take up kind of 2 slots of their 8 period schedule. But we'll do 2 in the morning. Lunch. After lunch, we do like a siesta rest hour, so that's kind of quiet time in the cabin. They can, read, write letters, take a nap, but it's kind of a nice quiet time in the middle of the day. Then the 2 remaining activity periods in the afternoon, meal time, I mentioned before, and then some free time before dinner. And then after dinner, we do like an all camp kind of evening activity. So like really popular one is like our round dance, or we have like a carnival one night, or a talent show or something, or maybe the overnight is the evening activity, that camp out that I mentioned before. And then usually the evening activities, if it's not the overnight, those usually wrap up about 8:15 or so. And then everybody goes back to their cabins and then gets ready for bed. And then it's lights out for the campers at 9 p.m. So usually, between the morning and the evening, if everybody wanted to take a shower, there's enough time for everybody to take a shower. We do have some like external bathhouses as well, with extra showers, like if there's a lot of demand for a shower. But all of our cabins have a sink, a toilet, and a shower inside the cabin. So, everybody's getting ready for bed, and then, there's the shower inside the cabin as well. So, but yeah. The counselors we have like a shower log to make sure kids are showering enough. Some kids, they'll have no issue with like taking regular showers, usually, every other day. But some cabins, some campers, maybe the young boy cabins, they'll need a little bit more encouragement and reminders to make sure they're, taking showers and everything like that. So we do have a shower log to kind of keep track of that and, make sure that they are taking regular showers, throughout the session.
This next one we kind of answered much earlier in the presentation. Would you go over clothing requirements?
Yeah, so one of our big kind of paperwork mailing, all of our mailings are going to be virtual, so like via email. So when I say mailings, it's like paperwork emailings. But one of our emails that we'll send out will have an entire multi-page packing guide document. So everything from laundry to labeling to like what kind of suitcase you should use, what to bring, what not to bring, all that kind of stuff. And then an actual like true packing list is kind of provided with it. I think it's like a 12-page document. Like it's very comprehensive. It answers just about every question, dress code stuff. Answers just about every question you could have about like what to bring to camp. And so we make suggestions based on like a week of about a week of camp. Our 2-week campers can have laundry done. So, the suggestions are based on, if a 2-week camper came and needed to get through the laundry day. We recommend a certain number of socks and a certain number of pairs of shorts and, shirts and stuff like that. So, but that's all on the packing, within the packing guide.
Next one up. What's the cancellation policy if we have to cancel due to a kid being sick or another unexpected situation?
Yeah, so everybody has until Wednesday, really until midnight tomorrow, to Tuesday, the 28th. They have until tomorrow to cancel and get a full refund less our $100 cancellation fee. Starting March 1st, the initial deposit, so like what you've already paid if you're enrolled, and then a secondary deposit that's going to be charged on Wednesday, that initial and secondary deposit becomes non-refundable. So if you cancel on April 4th, the initial and secondary deposit is not refundable. And that's for any reason. So medical, unexpected reason, don't feel like coming to camp, whatever, any reason, it is a non-refundable fee at that point. Up until midnight on April 30th, you'll have until then, and then starting May 1st, the final balance, like full tuition amount, will be the like remaining balance will be charged, and then the full tuition amount will become non-refundable after that point. So, again, for any reason, if you cancel, even if like we were able to fill the spot, we have a strict cancellation policy when it comes to that. So, if you're at all needing maybe to cancel, I would recommend doing it, today or tomorrow. Just you can send us an email. Hopefully you don't need to cancel, but if you do need to, it's in your best interest to do that before March 1st. Definitely before May 1st. I mentioned it before, but we do have tuition insurance. So there are a couple different plans. There's one that will cover like, an unforeseen circumstance, and then there's an option like a cancel for any reason that gives you like a portion of your money back. So definitely take a look at the tuition insurance. Again, that's not our insurance. We don't have any control over the plans or anything. It's purely like it's a totally outside company. We don't get any money from it at all. Yeah, it's purely if you want to protect your investment, you have the option of tuition insurance, and you don't have to use that company. If you want to find your own insurance to cover, then by all means, that's totally fine. But as far as receiving a refund from Friendly Pines, you won't get your initial and secondary deposit starting March 1st, and then you won't get your full tuition back starting May 1st.
When do sessions typically open for 2024?
Yeah.
So we have a better chance getting in.
Yeah.
What is your camp maximum enrollment for each session?
Yeah, so we have about 200 kids a week. Most of those are going to be 2-weekers. But then about a third of those are usually 1-weekers. So, but it kind of depends on the session. Our Adventure Week session is a little bit smaller, but for the most part, it's about 200 kids a week. Then as far as like next summer's enrollment, so we will once again be kind of operating on like a priority enrollment tier basis. So anybody that joins us this summer and comes to a 2023 session will get first pick for a couple weeks to enroll for 2024. Then anybody that was waitlisted but didn't get to come, they'll get the next kind of priority tier and the next pick of available sessions. Then anybody that has joined us in the past but didn't join us this summer or waitlist this summer will get kind of third choice. And then anybody that attends family camp, like only family camp, they'll be a part of tier 2. So maybe they didn't waitlist or attend any of the regular sessions, but they did come to family camp. They will get tier 2 access. And then tier 4 access will be kind of general public. So it'll kind of be like a kind of a 2-month process. So this past year we opened on September 1st. I don't foresee us changing anything for this coming summer. So like, those tier 1 top kind of priority access enrollees, they could start enrolling starting on September 1st. The latest would probably be September 15th. It's usually in September when we open enrollment. So if you don't so that's why it's in your best interest to waitlist, because even if you don't get in, even if there's like no hope of you getting in, like you still are a part of the kind of tier 2 access for enrollment for 2024. So it doesn't hurt to be a part of the waitlist at all. So, but yeah, so it'll open in the fall, but kind of general public, they're just finding out about Friendly Pines, didn't know about it from this past summer, they'll probably be able to start enrolling end of October, early November, if there's still available spots. Mm-hmm. This past year we opened on September 1st, and we had filled all of our spots on October 11th, and then just now in February had a couple spots open. So kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, definitely always best interest, get on that wait list. Next one, I may have missed it earlier, but cell phones are out, right?
Cell phones, I don't think we mentioned it. Yes, so we are tech free, so no electronics, no computers, video games, cell phones, nothing like that. Just leave it at home. As counselors are unpacking the campers, if we find anything, we'll collect it and turn it into the camp office and keep it locked up for their entire session. But yeah, all electronics, cell phones, all that kind of stuff stays at home. We don't have time for it, and we don't need it at camp. So yeah, no electronics, no tech here at FPC.
Yeah, and then I must have made a slight error earlier. It says Adam said Trail Seeker B is open, but he said the dates for Trail Seeker A, which is it? These are the 3 campus sessions that still have some openings right now. Session 2, June 25th through July 8th. Explorer B, July 2nd through 8th. And Trail Seeker A, July 9th through 15th.
Yeah, so those 3 sessions have a couple spaces, maybe. I don't know if anybody's gone and filled it since we've started, but yeah.
Next one, we're gonna call it at the military discount question, which is about 5 questions away.
Cool.
My son's birthday will be at camp. Will you recognize him on his day?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we love birthdays at camp. So we will sing to the birthday kid or the birthday staff on their birthday. And then at the end, on the last lunch or dinner of a 2-week session. So if you're in a 1-week B session, like Explorer B, Trail Seeker B, or a 2-week camper, at the end of that session, we have like a special birthday themed lunch where they sit at the birthday table, and then we have birthday cake for everybody for that celebrated a birthday during the session. So they'll be sung to on their actual birthday, and then if they're around for that 2nd week last lunch or dinner, then they'll have a birthday cake celebration as well.
Can the kids opt out of activities if anxiety is an issue?
Yeah, so they're welcome to make changes for the first couple days, but then we'll reach a certain point where we won't do changes beyond that. So if they, hopefully they'll have figured out within the first couple days if it's not going to be a good fit. Like maybe I'm afraid of heights. Like I should switch out of the ropes course activities.
Well, like horses are way bigger than I expected.
Exactly, yeah. So they can switch out then. If it's later in the session, for the most part, we wouldn't have people switch out. It might be something that they can, sit to the side and, be like an observer. Still be supervised, obviously, but be an observer for the activity. But once we kind of get into the main part of the session, we don't usually switch people. But it is kind of a case-by-case basis also. So, but for the most part, they can switch within the first couple days, but then after that, they wouldn't be switching.
Brittany, you're so welcome for the medical questions. No problem at all. We'll have to update that page on the staff, on the website about the staff. It still says medical staff information coming soon. So
Oh, okay.
Fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you email us your resume, we'll definitely prompt you to go and fill out the application.
Mm-hmm. The application is open, so if you go to like the staff tab and you click on the staff applications, you should be able. I mean, other people have submitted applications, so I know it's working mostly. So you should be able to still submit an application, just so we have your information in the system. But we'll take a look at the staff positions page as well.
Yeah, our next question. My daughter sometimes expresses herself verbally in Spanish, especially when she's upset. Are there any bilingual counselors or staff?
Yeah, so usually yes. We don't specifically have we don't have like a specific number of staff that are bilingual or multilingual. But usually we have staff that can speak Spanish, or sometimes we might have a French camper or something like that. And can, but for the most part, there's somebody around camp that can communicate in Spanish. I know like one of our office staff speaks Spanish, so off the top of my head, I know we have one person. But usually we have some counselors that can also speak some Spanish as well.
One of them speaks Japanese as well.
Yeah.
And then worst case scenario, we can go on the computer in the office or use Google Translate or something.
Yeah.
We'll be able to find a way to communicate if that's
what
the
we
only
need to
form.
It's definitely, we have several staff members each summer that can speak Spanish, but we kind of won't know that until I've finished hiring everybody if they're able to speak Spanish.
And then it says, Adam, our son wants to know where your accent is from. First timer, eager for camp. I'm from Australia, Brisbane, Australia. This will be my 8th summer with Friendly Pines Camp. I came for the first time in 2015 as a water ski counselor. And I've lived here permanently since 2019. So I think the accent's fading a little bit, but that's where I'm from.
Yeah, I'm used to it, but yeah, it's still a little bit there. So, but yeah, Adam met his wife Valerie here at camp, and she's one of our office staff as well. So they actually got married at camp. So true camp true love story. So yeah, and we got lucky, and Adam's been involved with our kind of program management team since 2019. So
are nightlights allowed?
Nightlights, yeah. We actually have some. So like if a cabin wants to have a nightlight, like we have some. But if you want to send a nightlight, that's totally fine as well. We don't want like something super bright that's going to be disruptive to other people, but just more like if they need to kind of get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, it can be on for that reason. But we don't like want to leave the lights on for sleeping or anything like that. But if you want to bring your own nightlight, that's totally fine. But we have nightlights in cabins as well.
Are there any dress code restrictions?
For the most part, there's not. Basically, all of the clothing needs to just be something that people can comfortably move in and do their activities in. And without risk of having any sort of like wardrobe malfunction. So as far as like shorts length, that kind of thing, our preference is on the longer side, but we're not, we definitely don't want it to become a kind of body shaming or anything like that situation. So as long as the campers and staff can comfortably do their activities and feel comfortable in their bodies and in their clothing and stuff, then that's fine with us. One thing though is that we don't allow sleeveless or like tank tops. So like all of like their shirts, boys and girls, need to have like a t-shirt like this. Like their shoulders just have to be covered. And that's mostly just for like sun protection. So that's kind of like our main dress code requirement. But beyond that, there isn't really a requirement or certain rules that they have to follow. But our packing guide kind of has a whole page on kind of dress code stuff as well. And
closed-toed shoes would be the only thing.
Closed-toed shoes is another restriction. So no flip-flops or any open-toed stuff. So Chacos, Tevas, those are great. I love those shoes, but I can't wear them at camp. There's just too many rocks, too many sticks, tree roots, all that kind of stuff, for, toes to get damaged. So, all shoes have to be closed-toed. So even for like going to the pool or going down to the lake for canoeing, Crocs are really popular or a great solution because they cover the toes, but they can get wet. Or if you have like Keens or, those kinds of shoes that have a closed-toed part but can still get wet. Those are great for like walking to the lake, going to the pool. You're welcome to bring flip-flops to like wear in the shower, but they just can't be worn outside of the cabin. They can be worn in the cabin, in the shower. That's totally fine, but they just can't be worn out of the cabin. Like we'll have campers go back to the cabin and change their shoes if they wear their open-toed shoes outside of the cabin, and staff too.
I know I said this would be our last one, but there's only one more. Do we offer a military discount?
We haven't traditionally. I think we have in the past, but recently we haven't. But if you kind of fall into that situation, it doesn't hurt to reach out. But as of right now, we technically do not offer a military discount, but it never hurts to kind of reach out just in case.
And then this is our last question of the night. On the activities, things like talent shows, etc., are they optional as well?
So for like the evening activities, they wouldn't be optional. It'd be kind of done as a cabin. It might be that, something like we were separated by, age groups or something. But for the most part, like the camp kind of does it all together and the cabin does the evening activity together. So again, if it's something like maybe they have anxiety around the round dance or something, they can sit to the side of the tennis courts and observe, but they don't go and do something else. Like they would still kind of be around for those evening activities. So it's more fun if they jump in and try the activity, but
the other option is to sit to the side.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we just got some kind comments. Thank you for answering all of my obviously first-time parent questions from Cassidy Beckstein-Lewis. And Sukata says, Megan and Adam, you are both amazing, and our boys are so excited. I am kind of jealous I don't get to go.
Well, you can come to family camp. That's our answer to, I give camp tours all the time, and parents are like, I want to do the zip line. I want to go on a horseback riding. Like, can I come to camp? Well, take a look at family camp because that's kind of your solution if parents want to come to camp. But yeah, awesome.
So for all of the questions that we received ahead of time by email, we're gonna by RSVPing to the event, we're gonna respond to those by email.
Perfect.
And anything else that's gonna come up in the comments, we'll respond to in the comments. But other than that...
Yeah, we've got some upcoming events. So just a reminder, our first cancellation deadline is coming up on Wednesday. We're going to have another roundup in a month from now at the end of March. So that'll be in Scottsdale at the Fairmont Princess Hotel. So we'll be sending out information on that. So if you want to... You're welcome to come to that one and our virtual one, but it's going to be very similar to tonight's program, but it'll be in person rather than virtual. So we'll be sending out emails kind of like the emails you got for this one, but that's coming up March 27th. Then our final roundup for the 2023 season is going to be virtual just like tonight, and that's going to be at the end of April, April 24th. Final cancellation deadline, Monday, May 1st, and then we will have an open house event on Saturday, May 20th. So if you can't make it up for a camp tour, but you still want to come see camp, open house is a really great option. It's a really nice day. We provide lunch. We have some activities going on. A lot of, if not most of our counselors have already arrived for training, and so you'll get to meet some of the counselors. They'll be doing like camp tours, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll have some fun like drawings and prizes, and you can win like money off of your tuition. So
speaking of drawings, yeah. I think we have our final one.
We have our final one. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. So last one is for this fun camp cup. It's a metal cup, a little ASMR. But yeah, so for the metal camp cup that we'll send you.
Here we go. Our final winner for this evening is Eva Share.
All right, Eva. So we had an Ava and an Eva win. So Eva, be sure to reach out to us so we can get your shipping information for your camp cup. Awesome. So that's open house. Again, we'll be sending out lots of emails in the coming months and everything like that with the events, as well as for any enrolled families, your paperwork and tasks that you have to get done. So you can get in touch with us. Our website's friendlypines.com. info@friendlypines. That email comes to both Adam and me. So if you have any questions, you can send emails to those, or you can send us directly. Mine's Megan, MEGAN @friendlypines, and then Adam is Adam @friendlypines. So, but info comes directly to both of us. Our phone number, and then if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Instagram and TikTok, and also Facebook as well. So, so that's kind of everything. But thank you again for everybody that joined in our first virtual roundup of the 2023 season. And let us know if you have any other questions. And we really appreciate you taking the time to watch the presentation. And hopefully, if you had any burning questions, you got those answered. So we're really excited for the coming summer and looking forward to meeting and re-meeting a bunch of you as well. So.